If you're anything like me, you kind of struggle to transfer all of your technical work into your sparring and fights. It gets kind of messy, right? Well, if you're tired of this, you have to understand the secret that allows Piotr Jan to be the most technical fighter in the UFC. But I'm not going to tell you, oh, here are the 15 combos and sweeps Piotr Jan uses. No, that already exists. Plus, that's not what you need. What I'm going to do is, I'm going to give you 5 of the main strategies and techniques Piotr uses to transfer his technique into the fight, and how you can implement them into your own game, as well as the main secret behind not only Piotr's perfect style, but also greats like Khabib, GSP, and John Jones. And let me tell you, the more you're able to use this secret, the better you will be, guaranteed. Let's get into it. I bet you if I asked you what style Piotr was, you'd say striker. And you're not wrong. But what separates Piotr from other great strikers is the fact that he's a great grappler. This might be a bit confusing, but the fact is, for you to be a competent striker in MMA, you have to be a good grappler. What I mean is, because Jan is a great defensive grappler, he doesn't have to fear being taken down, and he can also rely on his offensive grappling in case he's getting outstruck. Therefore, he can strike freely with no fear. The way Jan does this is kind of like a security system. He's locked his door, but if you manage to get past that, good luck not sounding the alarm. Jan has phenomenal takedown defense. That's the door. It's so good that one of the best grapplers the division has ever seen in Aljamain Sterling was only able to take him down 3 times out of 39. And for the record, Alger took down an Olympic gold medalist 4 times. What he'll do is, as soon as someone shoots, he'll turn his hips over and get an overhook and a wrist control. This does 2 things. Jan will get his opponent's hands away so they're not able to lock them, and is then able to turn them and or get out. Or his opponents will simply start to tire from carrying Piotr's weight so much. This is what happened to Aljo in the first fight. Jan defended all but one of Aljo's takedowns, and Aljo started to gasp before the incident. And besides, if you get him down, good luck. Jan has the defensive grappling of a wet cat. Like, unless he's gassed, or you have the best back taker in the business on him, he's getting up. But why is he able to do this? Well, unlike many other fighters, he doesn't play guard. He's constantly working towards building a base which he can use to stand up. And if he doesn't find that base, or he doesn't manage to stand up, he'll work towards a scramble, constantly creating chaos that allows him to improve his position slightly. He's always working on shrimping and getting his feet on the hips or getting his butterfly hooks, just to create space. But what if? What if he gets caught in some wild position, like a back take? What then? Well, when Aljo had Jan's back for 7 minutes, he was unable to do anything with it, because Jan had great awareness. First of all, they were up towards the fence, which makes it significantly harder for Aljo to get off any meaningful offense from this position. And secondly, Jan constantly controlled Aljo's wrists, and had his traps shrugged so Aljo couldn't choke him. And really, the only way you can start implementing this into your fights is by following this simple 2-step program. First, drilling. You're gonna drill all of these weird positions, whether it's you on your back in guard, or mounted, or you name it. Drill getting out of these positions, and also do the same for takedown defense. Lock in that technique. Then, what you're gonna do is, you're gonna spar in these positions. Work in a realistic situation on getting up. One of my favorite methods to making this as real as possible is one that my coach taught me, and that is punishments. Meaning, if you lose the position, whether it's the guy on top or the guy on the bottom, you do 3 burpees or something along those lines. Then I guarantee you'll get as real of a situation as possible. I'd recommend that if your coach doesn't implement these kind of spars and drills, you should just grab a partner after training and get those reps in. Whether it's 10, 15 takedowns defended, get the reps in consistently and it'll make a world of difference. That same principle applies to striking. The reps upon reps upon reps is the most important part of all martial arts. Consistency. And that consistency has given Jan something that I call the boxer's instinct. The boxer's instinct is essentially how top boxers like Canelo, Floyd, and Ali were able to never really get hit clean. They're always rolling with shots, ducking under, slipping punches, and the same instinct exists in MMA. But most UFC fighters don't have this. And it's not because they don't have the technique or the reaction time. It's because most fighters make this one mistake: drilling. But drilling itself is not the problem. The problem is that most fighters do a million different drills of them avoiding shots and then countering back, but are then surprised it doesn't work in sparring or fights. And let me tell you why. The The drilling is great for getting the technique of avoiding shots in and building muscle memory, but it won't transfer for this simple reason. When you drill, you do these movements consciously, and the best way to explain why this doesn't work is by understanding that humans are biologically unable to see a punch coming in time. Like, it's impossible. Especially when it's the best guys in the world throwing. But there's a trick. The best don't see the punches coming, because they literally can't. They just know in the back of their minds what's coming next and how to react. A sixth sense is a vital skill to have. It's like how you don't consciously blink when someone throws something at you. You just do it without thinking. You can only learn this by getting real reps in. You start out with light sparring, where you have more time to react but still don't know when stuff is coming your way. Then you slowly start to intensify the sparring until you're at real fight speed. You can do drills for this, but they have to include random shots at you, so you're getting those unconscious tells. If you look at Floyd hitting it, you'll notice his coach isn't telling him duck or slip. He's just doing it out of reaction, and that's why he's able to do it in a fight. I know what you're thinking, well, isn't this just fight IQ? But it's actually two completely different things. Because fight IQ is the tells that you make consciously. You can drill fight IQ, learn it. Meanwhile, the boxer's instinct is something you don't get by drilling, but by consistent work. Reps upon reps upon reps, that all just give you those unconscious tells that your body will react to without you even knowing. You can think of it like this. Fighters can tell you why they did something if it's fight IQ, but if it's the boxer's instinct, they can show you, but it's hard for them to explain why they did it. Sean Strickland is one of the best examples of the boxer's instinct in MMA, and if you look at his training, it's because he spars so much. Same for grappling. Look at what Dustin Poirier said about Khabib's grappling.
People ask me all the time, is he strong? I mean, he's strong. I don't know if he's the strongest guy I've ever fought, but he's strong. They're all strong. Nothing overwhelming or that really surprises me. It's just his understanding of balance and weight placement was incredible, dude. But he just knew where my weight was and where it needed to be for me to stay up with his foot trips. It's hard to explain, man, but...
That's the exact same thing, but in grappling. But the subconscious part of the defense is only half the game. You also have to back those instincts up with conscious technique, so you don't get too predictable. Jan's boxing defense is perfect. Like, you won't see any better defense in all of MMA. So what's his secret? Well, Jan's entire philosophy comes down to one goal. Take away as much of the damage as possible. He'll defend himself in two main ways in boxing exchanges. A tight high guard. This allows for him to eat most of the shots while not getting cut or hurt by the punches. And even better, he mixes the high guard with rolling, meaning that any sting on the punches is essentially gone once it lands. But he'll also use the long guard. It's a very underused defense in MMA that, especially for short guys like Jan, can help out a lot. What he does is essentially this. He tucks his chin in under his shoulder, meaning no punch will hit it clean. Then he takes the other hand and either covers the chin on the side to defend hooks or in front to defend straight punches. And lastly, when that rear overhand comes, which is the most common strike his opponents will use to counter him with, Jan crunches to the opposite side to take the punch on the shoulder. No damage done. And the same applies for the kicks. They often land on him, but he always makes sure nothing lands clean. He'll do either a Dutch block on the body kick, or he'll just parry the kicks by kind of scooping his body back and redirecting it with his hands. Admittedly, Jan doesn't have the best leg kick defense. However, he's able to take away most of the sting by just lifting his leg and letting the kick push it. And because this is technique, more so than reaction, I recommend drilling these. Of course, sparring is important too, but first make sure you get that technique in. Do these kind of higher paced drills where you really get to hone in that technique. So honing in on your defense a bit extra every session will do wonders for you. For example, when you're hitting the pads or sparring, don't just think about how to throw punches perfectly. Think about how to defend them. If you follow these 3 first steps, you're pretty set already. You've got the striking and the grappling defense, so your opponent is going to have a hard time imposing their will on you. But what about your will? Well, Jan is great at that too. And a big part of that is his perfect technique. If you look at Jan, whether it's on the mitts or sparring or in a fight, he always has pretty much perfect technique. There's no meat on the punches. He doesn't drop his hands unless he needs to. None of that. But your problem is probably not that your technique sucks. It's probably how you adapt it. So I'm going to give you my tried and tested 4-step formula for adapting your technique into your sparring. What I always start with is shadowboxing. I like shadowboxing because there's no resistance to it. On the mitts or the heavy bag, that constant sound is extremely tempting. Therefore, you start hitting harder, trying a bit more. It's a trap that even the best fall into. Jonathan Haggerty was so used to that pop in his punches that first hard shot he threw against Superleg, he overcommitted and got knocked out. But in shadowboxing, you don't get that. Therefore, you focus more so on technique, which inevitably will leave you muscle memory for step 2, which is mitts. The mitts to me are great because you can start to add power onto your shots while still keeping it technical and making those small adjustments you'll need, meaning that you've just made your technique slightly more real. By the way, the heavy bag also works for this if you don't have anyone to hold mitts for you, but the mitts are far from a real person, so you then need to do drills where you lock in extra on that technique. Go light, there's no shame in that. A lot of people have this idea that, oh well, that's not realistic enough, because I'm never going that light in a fight. To which I say, well, you gotta start somewhere. And for you to be able to implement that Jan style and the perfect technique, it'll take some light rounds. I like what Firas Sahabi says about this.
Say I go to jiu-jitsu practice. I'm doing jiu-jitsu every single day, 3 rounds, 5 days a week. That's 15 rounds. You go in twice a week, but you kill yourself. You do 5 rounds each day. You push yourself those last 2 rounds and you burn yourself out. I still did 15. You're at 10. At the end of the year, I've done countless rounds more. I've had so much more training than you. Don't go into the phase where your body's beat up, tight, broken up. Don't redline the body. That's only for training camps.
Damn right. If you're out of camp, you can afford to go playfully and light for a couple of rounds. The final step is to spar. You probably already guessed that, but anyway, start light and build your way up to more intense rounds where you're really forced to focus on that technique in quick moments and burn that muscle memory into existence. Inevitably, you will get worse for every step, but that's okay, because the more reps you do, the easier that technique becomes to adapt between the steps. The more second nature it becomes, and the easier it'll be for you to implement in your fights. By now, you're probably catching on to the main secret here. It's the reps, the repetition, the consistency. And essentially, what this all leads to is Piotr having a million different puzzle pieces, different scenarios that he can act upon in the fight. That's usually why he's such a slow starter. He's planning. He lets you strike while he stands there, counters back occasionally, but more than anything, he reads. He reads you. While you think you're winning, you're besting the champ, he's just planning. He doesn't care if he loses one round, because he's seeing which puzzle pieces you fit into. And when he's got that down, good luck. The best example of Piotr's great fight IQ is against Corey Sandhagen. Sandhagen is a very unorthodox striker who amped it up by 1,000 in this fight. He thought he was unreadable, doing his L steps, his funky footwork, the rhythm. How was Jan ever figuring this out? But Jan's got those million reps in, the 10,000 hours, and it took him only one round to nail down where in those million reps Corey Sandhagen fit in and how to win the fight. So, moral of the story, the more reps you've done, the more likely you are to have seen whatever your opponent's going to throw at you and be able to counter. So at the end of the day, the reason Piotr Jan is able to dominate comes down less to his unique style and more to the consistency and the perfection of martial arts. That's why fighters like Khabib, Topuria, Merab and GSP are able to dominate their divisions despite having drastically different styles. And that's the main thing I want you to take away from this video. It ain't about his style, it's about you mastering and mixing the martial arts in a way that fits you. That's the key to improving in MMA. I hope you all liked this video. I was a bit split on whether to make this a technique focused video or a strategy video, but if you're interested more so in either the techniques a fighter uses or the strategies and principles behind their success, let me know in the comments below. Until next time.